So we're a financial consulting company that teaches Excel, Power BI, and we use different data analytics tools to.
Chidi, just to mention, your screen is not presenting, it's not showing. So
Okay.
To reshare.
All right, sorry. Let me get it now. All right, 1 second. Hold up.
Chidi, any issues?
I'm right here. Just 1 sec. Is it showing now?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
You need to close.
All right. Here we go. Okay, so I'm just gonna talk a little bit about us. Let me just start from the start. So we're having on Mr. Crispo Mwangi for our Excel webinar this Sunday. Now, first, I'm going to talk a little bit about us. We're UrBizEdge. We're partnered with the Financial Modeling Institute. We teach financial modeling to help people pass the AFM Advanced Financial Modeler exam. We're also paired with Enterprise DNA, and so this is a learning platform that helps people use Power BI and use it whether it be for business and teaching. Now about us, UrBizEdge is a registered micro Excel consulting, financial modeling, business intelligence, data analysis, and enterprise solutions firm in Nigeria. So our team of developers have the only financial market analysis tool that's also available on the Microsoft Office store. So we have training in Excel. We have training in Excel where we teach people how to use Excel for business data analysis and build executive dashboards. We also help people learn VBA, Power Query, Power Pivot, and teach people how to use Microsoft Power BI as well. So we're having on Mr. Crispo Mwangi. He's a certified He's a Microsoft certified trainer, Microsoft certified solutions expert in data management and analytics, and a Microsoft Excel expert. He has experience in SSRS reporting and is a certified Power Platform app maker. He's also a Microsoft Certified Solutions Associate in BI reporting. He has plenty of years of experience, over 10, and he's experienced in creating data-driven solutions for various business problems. He has a great drive to achieve goals for the businesses and interpersonal growth. With all his accreditations, he is most suited for pushing organizations to new heights using business analytics and data. So I'm going to pass this over to Mr. Crispo now.
Thanks, Chidi.
No problem.
I think Michael has shared the Excel workbook that I'll be using. So for any person who wants to follow along can go to the chat and download the Excel workbook. today I want us to talk about data validation. As you know, data analyst.
Just to let you know, your screen too is not showing. So when he, okay, all right.
Is it? Is it showing now?
I don't know. Maybe it's trying to come up, but it's not showing currently. Have you shared again? You might need to reshare. Yes, it's coming. It's showing now.
Okay. So this workbook, if you want to follow along, is in the charts. There's a link that Michael has shared. As we know, data analyst, data engineer, and any other person who deals with data spends more than 60% of their time cleaning data. As you can see from this picture, it takes a lot of time to clean data. So if you can find a way to save that time, then I think that would be a good solution. So, and the solution that I found that helps people to save time cleaning data is data validation. So data validation, what it does, it helps you to increase your data quality. And the traits that we are going to see in this session is how to maintain consistency, accuracy, validity, completeness, and even uniformity in the data when you are collecting it. So if you know the kind of data that you want to be collected, then data validation is the thing that you need to master and to ensure that all the people who are collecting data follow the rules and the validation that you have put. So data validation is a feature in Excel that helps you to control what users input. So where do you find this data validation? One way of finding data validation is you go to data tab, then you go to data tools, and then here you have data validation. Yeah. So the other way of getting to data validation is using the shortcut is 𝗏𝗡𝐵. It's the same thing that you go to data validation. Yeah. So now that we are here in data validation, we'll go through these 3 tabs, but we'll revisit them over and over again. So the first thing that you find in data validation is the validation criteria. And we are going to go through all these validation criteria. I hope we have to do that. You can validate against whole numbers if you want your users to collect only whole numbers, decimals, list, and you are going to see that dates, times. The beauty about all this is that you can create your own custom function that can help you to validate the data that you want to be collected. So we'll go through this over and over again. So let me move on to the next tab. The next tab is you can give your users a hint of what is required, and this is the input message. So when you go to the second tab, you have the input message, and this is the hint that you give to the users of what is expected. If you want only capital letters, you can do you can write that input message, and then your users will see that. So the third tab is the alert message, and there are 3 types of alert message, which again we are going to see when we move on to practical examples. We have the stop. This is the default alert message. It blocks users from entering invalid data. And then you can give a warning. It discourages the entry of invalid data, and users can choose to ignore the warning or not. And then you have the third one is it's like an FYI. It announces the entry of invalid data, and users can choose to ignore the warning and move on. And it depends on what you want. Do you want to just give an FYI? Do you want to stop? Do you want to give a warning and ask the user to retry again? We'll see that when you go to the examples. 2 more things that I want to share. This is the theory part. you can copy your validation. So when you are copying and pasting special, you just need to click on this validation check, and then it will copy the validation that you have done from one page to the other. And then you can clear your data validation by selecting the area that you have validated and then clicking on clear all. So we are going to see all that, and I think that's all the theory that there is about data validation. So let's move into the best part of the webinar, which is the examples. So you have this data that you are collecting for your supplier. So I'm assuming this is like a supplier's template that you have created. And the first thing that you want is that you want only for your quantity, you don't want quantity to have decimals. You just want whole numbers. So how do you do that? Select the area that you want to validate, press Alt A V. So it will come here to settings, and then you can say what you want is whole numbers. So for the whole numbers, you can say what is between, what is not between, what is greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. So I'll say for us, we're only supposed to collect quantity between 1 and 1,000. Then you go and give an input message, give the hint to the person keying the data on what they are supposed to do. So for the title, you can say whole numbers. Then you say only key in between 1 and 1,000. Then for the alert message, you can give it a title and say a quantity that is beyond not allowed quantity. Sorry. And then you give an error message key in between 1 and 1,000. So let's see how this works. So number one, when a user is entering data, they will see this hint message. All numbers only key in between 1 and 1,000, so they can key in any number. If they decide to ignore this and key in something like 2,000, then your error message shows up. And then you have to retry. Let me try to put something with a decimal, 10.5. And again, it won't accept decimals. It only accepts whole numbers. And the whole numbers between what you want. It can be greater than, it can be equal to, it can be anything that you select from the data. Yeah. So that's how to validate against whole numbers. So how do you validate against decimals? And you can say places greater than 200 and decimals are allowed. The same thing, highlight the area that you want to validate, Alt A, V, and V. Then you come and say, I want decimals, and I want my numbers to be between 1 and 200 for the places. I won't go through the setting up of the alert and the error messages because it's the same thing. Let me decide to put a price of 20.5. For now, it's accepting because we have said accept decimals, but here if you try to do 20.5, it will not accept because you're validating for whole numbers only. So if I try to put 201, it won't accept because validation is only for decimals between 1 and 200. the other thing that we can do is validating against a list. So we are going to see this in almost any other tab that we are going to work on. So this is just an introduction. So for our products, the user can only select these 3 products. So how do you do that? Same thing, select where you want to validate, out A, V, and V. Then you come and say, I want a list. So it will ask you for the source of the list. And then you can come and just select your list, enter. Okay. So it will give you this drop down and you cannot key in anything else. You try to key in anything else, it won't allow you to key in anything else that is not in your product list. Delivery dates, you can validate against dates, and then you can say that what we are being told is that the delivery date should be within 10 days from today. So how do you do that? Highlight the area for validation and then out A, V, and V. Then you come to date. So delivery date should only be 10 days from today. So the start date here, you can write equals today. Today function returns today date. And then for the end date, because we all know that Excel stores dates as numbers, so we can just say today plus 10. So anything that is greater than 10 days from today, it won't be allowed. Anything that is less than today, it will not be allowed. I won't put in the input message and the alert message because of time. So we can try equals today. And that one is okay. Let's try to put 10 days from today and see what will happen. So if we say 2/23, 2023, it won't accept that date because that date is more than 10 days in the future. Yeah. And we only allowed to key in 10 days from today. What if we put yesterday? What will happen? Again, that's the whole idea. So if you don't want to have that limit of how many days in the future, if you, for example, you can say that the delivery date must be a date in the future, what you do, so you can clear this by doing clear everything, and then you set your future dates and say, I want a date that is greater than today. Any date that is greater than today is a date in the future. So it won't allow you to put any date in the past. So if you try to put 1/1/2023, it will refuse. But if you try to put 3/1, that will accept. So that's how you validate against dates. The last thing among the inbuilt rules that you can do is validating against the length. And we are told that the driver code must be 7 digits. So if you are keying in a driver code that is less than 7 digits, it should prohibit you from doing that. So highlight, then comes say text length. And then you say my text length should be equal to 7. So if I try to come and put a driver code, let's say CO1FH. So that's just 6 characters. It won't accept anything that is less than 7 characters. So if I put the 7th character, then it agrees. So these are just inbuilt rules, validating against whole numbers, validating against decimals, validating against a list, validating against dates in the future, dates in the past, dates between, and then the length of the text that is being keyed in a certain area. Is there a question before we move on? Any question? Because from here, we are going to go and look at a bit more complex issues. And the thing that we are going to look at is cascading list. If you have a list, so this is just a simple list, but you can have a cascading list. For those who are in Kenya, we have counties and we have sub-counties and we have wards. So you want, when your data is being keyed in, you have your employees' data and you want, when they select a county, it should only select corresponding sub-counties and corresponding wards. Yeah. For example, we have Mombasa is a county, and these are the sub-counties in Mombasa, and these are the wards that are in Likoni sub-county. So how do you do this to ensure that person does not select a county like Nairobi and then they select a sub-county like Likoni and all that? So the first step is you create named ranges. So how you create named ranges is highlight your data. You go to formulas and then create from selection. The alternative, you can have this shortcut, which is Alt M. It doesn't. So Alt M and then C. Yeah, so highlight Alt M. Alt M and C, and then you say you want to create names from the top row. So if you come here to your named name manager, you see all the names have been created, all the counties plus their corresponding sub-counties. So when you come to validating against the county, select the area, and then you say Alt A, V, and V. Then you say you want a list. So your source should be equal to all the counties. Yeah. So here you can see you can select all the counties. So how do you validate that when you select a county like looking for Mombasa? Give me a minute. Alt A, V, and P. And it's supposed to be Mombasa, not Mvita. But anyway, get the idea. So let me select Mvita. So here is supposed to be Mvita is a sub-county. So Mombasa, I want only to select the sub-counties in Mombasa. So what I will do is that when I come to the sub-counties, select the whole area, and then in the list, you come and say equals, you just use the indirect function. Equals indirect. Then indirect of what? Indirect of your county. then it should be relative because you are going to select all the counties in column C. So F4, 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 and that's it. So when you select something like Kwale, you only see the sub-counties that are in that county. And if you want to say create another cascading list, especially for the words, it's the same thing. Mombasa, Likoni, I had created the words for Likoni. So all I need to do is to come here and say, I want a list, and I want the same thing in dialect. In dialect, E. I had not created. Okay, let me create. From the top row. Give me a minute. Oh, I'm doing the indirect of the long thing. I should indirect from the sub county. So indirect D3. So this is how you do a cascading list. Create named ranges, then use the indirect. And then remember, you are indirecting from what? Sub-counties are indirect from the county, words are indirect from the sub-county, and then you can have this list, the cascading list, somewhere special. So I think that is the easy part of data validation. We go to something a bit complex using our functions. And you have this list and you are told that your ID number must be unique. So how do you validate against duplicates in a list? Yeah. So now we start using functions, and we all know that a unique item is an item when you count an item in a list is equal to 1. Yeah. So highlight where you want to validate your data. Out A, B, and V. Now you come and say, I want a custom function. And the formula I'm going to use is 𝗏𝑖f. 𝗏𝑖f. What am I counting? I'm counting all the national IDs. That's my range. My criteria is the national ID that I'm keying in at that time. And it should be equal to 1. So in case I try to key in anything else that is that I had keyed in previously, it will tell me that that is not a unique value. So what you need to do is that in your range, you need to have your range as absolute. Just in case there's somebody who has joined, let me try to show them how to input the input message. Say unique. ID should be unique. And the same thing. Input unique ID. So I'll put 1. I'll put 2. If I try to put 1 again, then it will be a duplicate in this column C. And it will not allow me to do that. So by simply putting that 𝗂𝗁 function, you can be able to validate against duplicates. So if I try to put 3, it will accept. Yeah. The second one is that we are going to validate against emails. And we know that to ensure a valid email, you have to have that @ So we want to input this function that whatever you put in this field, it must have the @ sign. I know that is the basic that you can have in an email, but you should have, there are things like an email should not have spaces and special characters and all that, but you don't have time to validate or against all that. So we're just going to validate that the email should have the @ sign. So what we are going to do is select the area you want to validate. Then you say custom. So is number. Okay, let me try to explain this is number and find. Put my email here. Crispo at .com. So what happens is if you write find the text, the text that I want to find is the @ and then within this text. So what find will do is to return the position of that @ as a number. If it doesn't have the @ somebody has put an email like that, then it will return a value. Yeah. So the whole idea is if the text that you put in this column D has the @ symbol, it will return a number. And since when you are doing the custom function, data validation checks if it is true, it will allow the data that has been input as valid. If it is false, it will not accept. So what you need is to have something that will return true or false on this field. So its number will return true if find returns a number, the position of whatever you're finding. But if it doesn't find a position of whatever you're finding, then it will return false. Yeah. So that's the whole idea. So if you have this, you can actually just copy. You can test your formula before you put it in the data validation. Copy. Select your area, not A, B, and P. Custom. Then you paste, you say find. So let me try to key in something that doesn't have that @ symbol. @gmail.com. It won't allow until you put the @ symbol. So the other thing that we want to validate again is spaces. For example, if you have a course code and you don't want your course code to have spaces, then you need to ensure that whatever is input here has no spaces. So what you do, if you follow these steps, is that you need to test your formula first. So let's put something that has spaces. The first thing is you need to check if you substitute what text we are substitute in this text. What we are trying to replace, spaces with nothing. So substitute in a way remove spaces. So you can see there's a space here, and you can even add as to make. So when you remove those spaces, it returns something without spaces. So what you want to check is this text minus spaces equals to this text? And it tells you is false because this text has spaces. So if you try to remove spaces, then it tells you this text, when you minus the spaces, is the same as when you substitute spaces. I don't know whether it's making sense, but the whole idea with data validation is you use a logical test that returns true or false. If it is true, the data is valid. If it is false, the data is not valid. So what you do after you have ensured that you have tested that, you can come and copy your formula. Give me a minute. So copy your formula. Highlight the area that you want to apply the validation. Then you go to custom and you say, let me write it all over again. Substitute the data that is here. Provide space, replace with nothing. That should be equal to that data. So if I try to write something with a space, I won't agree. If I write something that doesn't have space, it agrees. Yeah. So the essence of data validation is logical test. Any logical test that you put in your custom function, if it returns true, valid data. If it returns false, then invalid data. So the question is, as we said in the introduction, part of your data quality is to ensure this completeness. So what if you want to ensure that this whole row, that you can't input data for the second employee if you have not put data or the required rows from the previous row. So how you do that is that you need to ensure that there are no blanks from the previous row. Yeah. So let me remove all these. I want to clear all kind of validation. And then I want to ensure that you can move to the next row if the previous row is not fully complete. Yeah. So what you do is highlight all the rows that you want to have data. Go to data validation, then you come to custom function. What you need to do is you want to say, if you count blank cells from the previous row. Yeah. And then since we are the columns that we are checking is C, D, and E, but the rows should be changing. So I'm going to have a mixed reference where the columns are the same. The columns are fixed. So the count blank from the previous should be equals to 0. If there's a blank space from the previous row, then it should not accept you to move to the next row. Yeah, that's all that you need to do. So let's try national ID, one email at 𝐷mail.com. And then I'll ignore the course code. So if I try to input data in the next row, it will not allow me to do that. So this is one of the ways that you can use data validation to ensure that there's completeness in the data that you are collecting. You just need to check the previous row and check if the previous row, the required fields are not blank. So if you count blank, the count should be equals to 0. Is there any question before we move on to something else? I see you only have 15 minutes. I'm not sure whether you are going to finish this. So if there's no question,
if anyone has a question, you can put in the chat box.
yes, and then we can answer. Yeah.
Go on, sir.
Okay. So that is simple functions. We are going to move into something even more complex. You can use the if function to validate against lists. So you have two ship modes. We have other airlines and we have priority airlines. Yeah. So how you do this is that first of all, you can say if you want to check on other airlines, on the priority airlines, and if you don't want the airlines, then show all the other airlines. So the same thing, highlight out A, V, and V gives you the data validation. Then you come and say, I want a list. So the list that you want, you can say if whatever that is shown on this cell, and that cell should be relative, because it's going to scroll all the way down. If that is equals to other airlines, then show other airlines. Ensure that you highlight even the header. You see why we are highlighting even the header. Else, show priority airlines. And that's it. So when I'm keying in the ship mode, I can come and say what is being given priority is the, sorry, I didn't. And I'm highlighting the priority airlines I need also to show. I didn't highlight the header, that's why I'm repeating. Let me rewrite the whole thing again. If whatever is keyed in here is show other airlines, then select this. Otherwise, select all this. So you have the first priority that you have in the list is the priority airlines. But if you don't want the priority airlines, you can come here and say, show other airlines. And then you see it gives you now the list of all other airlines. And you can still move back to show priority airlines and then show other airlines. So that's how you use the if function inside the data validation. We move on to something a bit complex. This is very common, especially among the HR people, where you want to have you have the job grade and you have the minimum and the maximum per job grade. So what you want is that when you are awarding salary for every staff, we want to ensure that If an employee is in grade 3, he or she should only get a salary between 58,000 and 70,000. Yeah. So I've already done this. I've already validated against the grades just to save time. So I want to show you how to ensure that the salary, when you select this grade, you can only input data that is between the minimum and the maximum. So what you do is that you use the 𝗬𝗓 function to select the minimum based on the grade, and it also select the maximum based on the grade. So highlight wherever that you want to input the salaries, and then you come and say it's whole numbers. It can be decimals if your salaries have decimals, but our salaries have some whole numbers. So the minimum is equals 𝗬𝗓. What do you want to return? I want to return the minimum salary because now we are checking the minimum. What's our criteria range? I want to check the grade. And what's the criteria? The criteria will be stored in column C. Yeah. So ensure this is absolute. So function F4. And this is absolute function F4. And for maximum salaries, it's the same thing. 𝗬𝗓. What do I want to return? I want to return the maximum salary, function F4. And then what's our criteria range? I want our grades. And then what's our criteria? Whatever grade will be put on cell on column C. And that's all that you need to do. So if I select grade 5, and I say I want grade 5 to give them a salary of, let me say, 600,000. It is not within the band. Yeah. So what if I give them 400,000? Then it will accept. 2 is between 38,000 and 49,000. So I'll give them, let me say 48,000. So that one will accept. But what if you come and review your maximum and minimum and say now, after all that and the data has been input, we are going to review the salary for grade 2 to 38,000 to 45,000. So you can come here and say we want 45,000. But you can see your data has already been put and this person now has the long salary. So how you do that, you use what is called circle inferred data. So even after your data has been input, you can still validate it. So what you do is that you go to formulas, data validation, and then you say circle inferred data, and it will tell you this is an inferred data. Yeah, because you see, yes, it's true when the data was being keyed in, the person was within the salary grade, but you have reviewed the salary grades and now they are outside the salary grade. So now and then, even when you have done the validation, it's always good to turn on your circle inferred data to see if something has changed between what has been validated and what has been keyed in. The other thing I want to show is, for example, if you have this kind of data and you want to pay your suppliers and you want to say that your suppliers should only be paid once. Yeah. So how do you validate that you can only input data on one of these columns, but not both. I had done this before. And it's a simple function, is that if you count anything that is in column C and column D, it should be equal to 1. Just that. So the idea with data validation is that it's so simple if you know the logic that you want to apply. Yeah. So just by saying count anything that is between column D and column E that is equal to 1, then you have ensured that you can only input data in either column D or column E, and we can try to see that this person was paid in second run, this person was paid in the first run. But if this person, we want to say they were paid in both first run and second run, it won't agree to that because data should only be on one of the columns, not both. The other thing that you should ensure is, for accuracy purposes, is that the payment should not exceed the sales. Yeah. So if this person sold only 1738, you should not pay more. And I'm assuming that you have a lot of columns that are going up to, I don't know, around 16,000 thereof. So you can see the sales data, and you want to ensure that every time you pay, you validate against whatever was sold. So again, it's a simple formula. Trying to move a bit fast because the time is not on our side. And this formula says that check column C, and anything that is in column C should be greater or equal to the sum of all the payment runs that you have. If you have 1,001 payment runs, so sum everything on these other columns where you are inputting the payments, and then that sum should be less, or it should be equal to the sales. So there's no way you can overpay this person. So if you try to input another 20, I see it's not agreeing, but let me put this. Let me clear that and say out A, B, and V. This amount should be greater than or equal to the sum of these two amounts. So 1738, that's okay. 400. Let me check again.
Hello, Crispo.
Yes.
Just to let you know, you can take an additional 10 minutes just because we started late. So.
Okay. 16 should be. Oh yeah, it should not be greater. It should be less or equal to. Sorry. So this amount should always be should always be greater or equal to the sum. Not sure, and the logic is correct. Not sure why it would. Oh yeah, it's agreeing now. So if I try to put in, but you see, it's telling us this is 40, 1072. So that's the logic. I'm not sure why, but if you do your testing, it will tell you that actually what you sold and what you have paid is something totally different. You can use all functions in Excel to do your data validation. For example, you can do text functions. It's a lot. I don't know whether we'll be able to cover all that. If you want to validate again, is that the employee code should only be uppercase. So how do you do that? Highlight. Make clear. A custom function is that you use the exact. You say whatever data that you input here should be equal to the upper of that data. So if I try to put something that doesn't have a mixture of upper and lower, it doesn't accept. But if I put only uppercase, it will accept. Yeah. So the upper, exact and upper. So this should be actually upper. So this tells you that the data, because you are checking C3, is equal to the upper of C3. That's the whole idea. And you can do the same for the lower. And you can also do the same for starts with an uppercase and followed by a lowercase. You do that for proper. So the other thing I want to show before my time elapses is it can even get a bit complicated where you use the add and or logic. For example, we have an employee code and we are told that the employee code must be 7 characters. The first 3 letters should be CET, and then it should have 4 numbers. So as you can see, we are doing a bit of validation of whatever is input there. So what you do is that you need to write your functions. You need to break all this into small pieces. So what you need to first of all check is the employee code 7 characters? So how you do that is you use the length function. As you can see, the length of this string should be equal to 7. That's the first thing that you do. And how do you check if the first 3 characters are CET? You come and say, if the left, I'll do that equals left of this string, the first 3 should be equal to CET. So that's the second validation. And then it should have the last 4 should be numbers. So it's the same thing. If you extract the last 4, so it gives you 001. But you know, text functions, they return what they return is a text, not a number. So to convert this text number into a number, you need to add a 0. Don't worry. And then you need to check whether it's a number. And it tell you that that is a number. Yeah. But before, if you had not added 0, just in case somebody doesn't believe that this is a number, if you come and say it's number, then it will tell you that is not a number. So, but if you add, if you do mathematical operation, add 0 times 1, then it returns to a number. So what you need to do now that you have this validation, this validation, and this validation, you can put all that inside the AND. So that's what I've just done. I've said AND, the length is 7, the left is equal to CET, and the last 4 is a number. So when you put all these 3 inside the AND function, then you say copy go to data validation and then paste everything. So if you try to put something else like CET, I'll put two numbers, 0, 0, 2. It should not allow me to do that because it doesn't fit the 3 criteria that we are checking. Yes, it starts with a CET, but the length of the characters is not 7, and the last the last 3 is not. They are not 4 numbers. They are just 3 numbers. So that's how you do it. Should I continue or my time is up? Chidi?
Of course, you can continue for another 2-3 minutes.
Okay. So just tell me when I need to stop.
No problem. I'll be the first one.
We can. Okay. So we can even make it even more complex. What we are being told is that for our project code, it must be 7 characters, any 3 letters, and 4 numbers. So what we need to do is that for now, you know how to check the number of characters in a string. You just use the len function. So the length should be 7. But how do you check if it has 3 letters? And this is where it gets a bit complex because what you need to do is that you need to split whatever string that you put here and check for letters. How do you split a string? If you have Office 365, this is what you do. Mid, whatever string that you have. And then for the start number, use the sequence function. Sequence, and then for the rows, you say you want the length. Then you want 1. So now I have split that string, the project code, and I want to check how many letters are here. So the way you check for letters is if you do a mathematical operation on a letter, it will return the error. So you can see all the places that we had letters, that's the K, the W, and the G, we have returned a value. And then the other places we have returned the numbers themselves. So you can come and say is error. So is error will return true where there was letters and false where there are numbers. And then this you can just come and say convert this into ones and zeros, add another 0, and then you do a sum product. So this will tell you that in this string we have 3 letters. So if I try to add another letter, sorry, I've already done the validation, but let me try to add a letter. Let me remove the validation first. So if I add another letter, you see that we have 4 letters. Yeah, we have 4 letters. So now we have checked for the letters. We can say some product is error is equal to 3. So the third thing that we want to check is does it have 4 numbers? 7 characters, 3 letters, 4 numbers. So how do you check for numbers? 24 numbers. The same thing, you split it. When you split the string, if you do mathematical operation, this time I'll do times 1. So, and then you do, is it a number? Return true and falses where there is a number, and then plus 0 to convert it again to 1 and zeros. And then if I do a sum product, if I add all these, it should be equals to 4. Yeah. So this one won't agree because we have a false and true. We need to have all 3 criteria equals to true. So if I minus that, then true, true, true. So I know that if I add all these 3 logics together, then whatever, and I validate it against whatever I have selected, I will always have a project code that is 7 characters, 3 letters, and 4 numbers. So what you do is that you can add, or you can put all this inside the add function. So what I'll try to do is I'll try to do AND. So the first thing that the first thing that we checked was the length. So the length should be 7 numbers, comma. The other thing that we checked was the letters should be 3. Copy. So copy. Paste. So the length should be 7, the numbers should be 3, and no, the letters should be 3 and the numbers should be 4. So we know that this we check the 3 criteria that we want. So if you have done this, so when you are doing complex validation, always follow these steps. Test your formulas first outside the data validation, because if you try to write all this inside data validation, you definitely get it wrong. Yeah. So test your formula first. That's what we are doing. Then select the areas you want to apply the validation. Then you copy and paste the formula inside the custom function. So we have done that, and we have seen that if we key in anything here, it will have to be 7 characters. The numbers, the letters will be 3, and the numbers will be 4. So just copy. Go to the area that you want to validate. Control A and V. Custom. Then you paste. Yeah. So if I try to do a combination that is not what I was asked for example, I'll say 1, 2, then 1, 2, 3. That alone, first of all, doesn't meet the criteria. It's not even 7 characters. So let me try to be smart and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7 characters, but as you can see, we have 4 letters and 3 numbers. So I have interchanged the letters and the numbers. So let's see whether it will accept. It won't accept until we change that the letters should be 3 and the numbers should be 4. So you can write complex formulas to validate your data. You're not limited to whatever is inbuilt, but for you to do that, you have to ensure that you test your formulas first. If they work outside your data validation, then you just copy and paste them into data validation. So if you don't have Office 365, for those people without Office 365, you can split your data using this formula. It's the low and indirect. At least you have indirect and you have low. If you do that, if you use this formula, then it will be able to split your data, and then from there you can be able to check, is it a number? Is it if it's not a number, then is it a text? But you know, if you add a 0 and then you say is error, then whatever is returned is a text. So if you don't have Office 365, don't feel left behind. You can still do your text split using low and indirect functions. This is even more complex because now what we are being told is that 7 characters, any 2 uppercase, any 1 lowercase. So it's not just any 3 letters. 2 must be uppercase, 1 must be lowercase, and then we have 4 numbers. And you can even make it even harder for the numbers. You say the numbers between 5 and 6 and all that. So how do you check for uppercase? This is the function. How do you check for lowercase? This is the function. I don't have time to go through all this, but I can assure you that this checks for lowercase and this checks for uppercase. For example, if I want to check, do we have 2 uppercase? Oh, sorry, this checks for lowercase. You can see it's exact, lower, mid, and then you do the sequence. So that's the function. So do we have 2 lowercase? Let me convert the G into a lowercase. And you can see we have 2 lowercase and we have 1 uppercase. This is a function for getting uppercase. And then you can do all that. And then you can combine these 4 now criteria inside and you'll be able to validate against that. Hello?
All right, Crispo, that was great.
Can I still continue?
I think time
there's
has just
still a bit of date.
Oh, no problem at all. No problem at all. We can keep on going if you want. It's all on you.
Or is it possible?
Okay.
Sorry,
other than
hello, Crispo. Sorry, because we have another session in about 30-something minutes. Or do you think maybe we can do a part 2?
Okay.
Or what do you think? Or do you think you can finish in say
we can
3 minutes or 4 minutes? What's your suggestion?
No, I don't think I can do because now we can go through all the function groups in Excel and try to see how you can validate against text, validate against using date functions. For example, if you have where employee key in their leave days and you want their leave days only to start during weekday, so you can use this function, weekday function, yeah. So it will always check, it will always return the day of the week, and then you can check is the day of the week less or equal to 5. If it is less or equal to 5, then you know that's a weekday. If it is greater than 5, then that's a weekend. So you can do that. You can use network days to check if work day to check if again it's a holiday. Leave can only start on a work day. So if it's a holiday and an employee tries to key in leave start as a holiday, it won't allow them. So you can use a workday function. You can use sorry, where was I? You can also even make it more interesting by selecting your work days. Yeah. So meeting can only happen on workday, which is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you try to if you try to schedule a meeting that is not on a Monday, Wednesday, and a Friday, it won't allow you. So you use the workday international, and then you key in your weekend. So there's 0, 1, 1, and 0 will tell you where it is 0 is false and 1 is true. So there's Sunday is 0, Monday 1, Tuesday 0, Wednesday 1, that's the 0, Friday 1, Saturday 0. So it gets complex when you try to, but I think what I've tried to do in that 1 hour is just to show you that you are not limited to just the inbuilt, but if you want to start with the inbuilt rules, get comfortable with the inbuilt rules, but now go on and try to build your custom function, because this is where the power is when you try to do complex functions and try to validate your data. Just know what you're trying to control. Write your formula outside. Write your formula outside your validation. Your validation, check if it is working, and if it is working, just go copy it and paste it on the custom function, and that's it. I think that's all that I can say for now, but it gets harder and harder and more complex and more powerful when you try to use all these combination, all this nesting of function and all that. So if you have a good grasp of Excel functions, then you should not have a problem with data validation. I think that's all I can say, Shidi, for now.
All right, thank you. That was great. So we're going to move into the Q&A. If anyone has any questions, you can start right away. Mr. Crispo is here to answer anything.
Any question? I can see the chat. Don't know whether you can check the chat and see whether somebody with a question.
I'm looking at the chat now. If anyone can raise their hand if they have any questions. Well, if not, then I guess we'll go into our end of session questions. So we normally ask 2 questions before, normally at the end of a session. We'd like to ask you, Crispo, like, how did you start your Microsoft Excel journey, or your data analyst journey? How did you start? Where did you come from? And how did you get to this stage that you are now?
I started, I think, around like 15 years ago, and I remember very well I was doing the lookup. I started with index and match, and I think that's why I love lookup functions. And I was printing 2 papers and checking one against the other, which was a bit time wasting. And then when I learned the power of nesting functions, that's index and match, I think I got addicted to Excel until now. So it has been a journey of making mistake, learning, trying to teach what I learn so that I can get it, so that I can understand it even more. So it's not a one-day thing. It's just be courageous, be comfortable with making mistakes, and then be comfortable with teaching. I think those 2 has helped me a lot to be where I am. And then learning every day. don't be cocky, thinking that you know everything. There's always something new in Excel.
Okay.
Have I answered your question, Shidi?
No, yeah, you answered it. That was a great answer. And do you have any advice for young people starting their career in data analysis, or the business professional that wants to get into Excel?
Like the other presenters, because I've listened to many of these webinars, I will say the same thing that other presenters say. Just start somewhere. If it is data validation, don't try to do these complex functions. Start, you see, like the way we have started, start somewhere. Start with the basic, do a bit of theory, but don't get hung up on the theory. Then try to, whatever that you want, try to master the basics first. Do a bit of theory, master the basics first, and then you do a progressive overload. Continue, don't just get stuck on the basics, and then do a bit of progressive overload every day. And then before you know it, you'll be doing complex things, and you wonder how you got to where you are. So just start, to begin with, just start, and then don't get stuck with the beginnings. Do a bit of progressive overload every day, and then you'll be somewhere in 1 or 2 years. Give yourself time. But above all, just start. Whatever you want, just start. Hello?
I'm right here. Okay, that's great. That's great. That's a great answer. And I think to start, you definitely need a learning platform. UrBizEdge has one.
Yes.
We teach Excel. We teach Excel and host this webinar almost every week and every weekend. So, and also you yourself as well, you also said you teach Excel. Hopefully we'll be able to get your LinkedIn and share it right after we upload this video onto YouTube. And hopefully we can get more connects that way. So thanks a lot, Crispo. We really enjoyed this webinar. It was great.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, CD. Hello?
Yeah, I'm right here, sir.
Yeah, I'm saying it's been an honor to present again. Looking forward for the next presentation. I feel, I don't know why I feel that the 1 hour is a bit not that much. Maybe you can have a webinar of like 2 or 3 hours, so that at least we have enough time to explain some of the concepts, but it's up to you.
Yeah, definitely. We'll look into it. I know even now I can see that you're rushing through some things, but we'll definitely look into it. But as Michael said earlier, we can definitely do a part 1, part 2, and part 3. It can be a continuous thing as well, for sure. And we can definitely hit all the topics you want to talk about.
Okay.
I think we can
side chat after the meeting. Yes, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. That's great. All right, so thanks a lot.
Thanks, CD. Thank everyone for attending. If you want to reach out, these are social media handles. You can DM, you can send any question. We'll be happy to answer anything on data validation or any other thing that you want.
Actually, Adam has a question. He says, I want to ask if he can analyze the difference between data analysis and business analytics.
Is there a difference really? Because at the end of the day, at all I know, what I can say is that when it comes to this, again, all data analysis at the end of the day is that you want to make better decisions based on your data. So whether you are doing data analysis, whether you are doing business analytics, at the end of the day is that you want to utilize the power that is in data, and to make decisions that are not just hints, but you want to make decisions that are that have a basis on the data that you have collected. So I don't know whether I've answered Adam, but I don't think the line between data analysis and business analytics is thin, dotted, and a blurry line. Because at the end of the day, why are you collecting the data? Number two is where do you want to use it? Do you want to use it to make better decisions? If you want to use it to make better decisions, then what you are doing is data analysis, which at the end of the day is business analytics. Not sure whether I've done that any justice, but if there's somebody else who can give more on that, I'm happy to listen also. TD, your take?
No, I think you explained it enough, and I'd say it's time to end this session. It was great.
Okay.
It was great having you, and I hope we'll have you again very soon.
Same here.
No problem. All right.
Okay, bye.
See you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye. Thank you to Crispo.
Thanks, everyone. See you later.